I discovered my boyfriend has been living a double life our entire 6-month relationship. I, 23 female, had known John, 28 male, for years as his mom was my manager at a care home. We were always very friendly, and even at one point his mom, my manager, tried setting us up. He then got into a relationship with someone else and they were together for 2-ish years. We didn't speak much while they were together, but we weren't super close anyway, so honestly I barely noticed that we hadn't spoken for a long time. Anyways, they broke up at the beginning of this year. At this time, I was a dog walker and he had a dog. I got a random message from him one day after years of next to no contact, asking of good places to walk his dog around a specific area in our town. I of course replied and I went with him around the area with his dog, and we went for a walk 2 weeks after he sent the initial text. He told me he had broken up with his psycho ex and told me about all the unhinged things she had done to him throughout the relationship. Things like cheating, abuse, locking him out of their house, making him sleep in the spare room because he snored, blah blah blah. Of course, after hearing about what he went through, I told him that if he needed me I would be there, and also apologized for not being there at the time and not reaching out throughout his relationship. We began talking, then dating, and we got into a relationship. Everything was so lovely for a few months. He met my family. I already knew his but didn't meet them when we were together. This should have been a red flag, but apparently I'm colorblind. He used to have a lot of work parties, and I attended one of them. They were field parties, very juvenile, drinking and doing substances in a field with music and a fire type of gathering. He had always asked that we don't post on any social medias about us, or post selfies, etc., as he knows his psycho ex followed my Instagram and would have some abuse to hurl at me or him if she saw it. I was gullible and believed this to be true, because why wouldn't I? He was kind, loving, and never gave me any reason to doubt him. I completely forgot about his no social media rule at the bonfire and posted a blurry picture of the bonfire and 2 of his friends in front of it. He didn't say anything at the time, but all of this backstory will make sense in a minute. We then planned a getaway to Wales. He told me he had a discount for a specific website and then we discussed where we wanted to stay, etc. He then booked it when I wasn't there, told me where it was, time, and date, etc. I booked it off of work and we were both very excited. The day before we were supposed to leave, he tells me the house had been double booked and we could no longer go. I asked to see the email and he said he couldn't find it. This is where I start becoming suspicious. We decide to go to Cornwall instead and stay in their family caravan. Not as nice as the place we had booked, but it is what it is. We travel down on a 4-hour car ride, get set up in the caravan and go for food. A few times he would leave the caravan to take a call from his dad, sister, or friend. I didn't think much of it because a lot of the time he would say it was a work friend. He was a manager, so I just thought business as usual. They just need some advice, etc. He would sit in his car on these phone calls, which at the time didn't raise much suspicion. He would also many times go and lay in a spare room and watch films on his phone instead of sitting with me and watching them. This all felt a bit weird, but I didn't want to bring anything up and ruin the trip. We went for a drink on our final day there. He's on his phone a lot and in playing with the dog and finishing off my drinks. He put his phone down on the table as he is pressing the off button. In the split second it was on, I see his ex's name pinned to the top of his messaging list, with a message that had just been sent. Not only this, there were hearts next to her name, again, very juvenile. I don't say anything at the time because I'm not trying to be stranded in Cornwall with no way back if it got heated, and he drove off. So I keep what I have just seen to myself and act normal. Naturally I'm texting my friends like, you'll never guess what, and asking for advice. Most of them said to confront him, but I didn't feel comfortable doing so when I was so far from home. We get home the following day, we say goodbye, etc., and he goes back to his house. At this point I'm curious as to what the hell just happened on our getaway, especially because of all the nasty stuff he had said about her, telling me she is blocked and will never speak to her again, etc. I message one of his exes who I was friends with in secondary school and ask what happened between them, because I felt he was likely lying and cheating with his recent ex. She tells me he cheated on her. So now I'm mad because I should have clocked it sooner or even branched out and asked this girl what had happened just as a little check. But, it turns out, the girl from secondary school knows his recent ex. Let's call her Molly. Molly ends up messaging me saying that my high school friend had told her about me and John and that she wanted to know details like how long, how intimate, etc. I took my time replying because I was anxious, especially after everything I had been told about her. I go back to the message and start typing out a response. Before I can press send, she sends me a picture of 2 positive pregnancy tests. I stop typing and message John instead. I ask him if he has been speaking to Molly recently. He tells me no. I tell him I saw her name on his phone. He says it's because he wanted to see the dogs they previously shared and she had only just started letting him see them again. I ask him why he lied in the first place by telling me he hadn't spoken to her at all, and only now that he knows he got caught is he willing to tell me he's been going over to see their dogs. He doesn't reply. So I go back to Molly's message and we get to talking. Yes, they were broken up. But they hadn't stopped seeing each other. Not at any point in our 6-month relationship was there a week where he hadn't gone to hers at least 3 times. 3 times a week whilst in a relationship with me. At this point I'm pissed off, especially after learning she's pregnant and that he knew all about it. I message him something along the lines of, Aw, I'm sure you'll be a good father. He finally replies to my bait and asks how I know, if I have been talking to Molly, telling me not to believe a word she has been saying and that I should know him better and to believe him over her. At this point she has phoned me and is telling me she's 6 weeks along, he's been sleeping with her, staying at her house most nights, and or coming over on his work breaks if he was busy that night. Busy? Bull crap. Anyways, he's trying to tell me she's lying and he likes me but thought we were just friends so no harm etc. Friends? He asked me to be his girlfriend? Is he delusional? Meanwhile, Molly is telling me that she saw messages on his phone from me once, the one with the dog walking routes, and they got in an argument about me then, and since that she had always had her suspicions about me and him. She would constantly ask him about me, asking to meet me if we were just friends. Valid point from her. She also goes on to tell me that he uninvited her from the work field party, the one I attended. I tell her I was there and she said she knew already because she saw the picture on my Instagram, and her and John got into an argument about me that night too. I also found out that he was constantly reassuring her by telling her that he would never do anything with me because I was fat, I wasn't attractive, I was ugly etc. All whilst he was hanging out the back of me. I tell her all the things he called her too. She said she had messaged me weeks before asking about me and John, but had deleted it because she didn't think it would be true and that she might have been making a mistake. Boy, I wish she hadn't deleted it. She also told me, and showed me video proof of him hurting her, laying his hands on their dogs, and other things he did to them that was just awful. She had hidden cameras so that she could get it all on evidence if she ever needed it. It also turns out his family and friend calls on the trip were her. I had never met his family because he had never told them about us. He had never booked the initial trip to Wales. The Cornwall holiday was supposed to be for him and Molly. When he cancelled the holiday with her, he said he was taking his cousin as he was going through a hard time. Just lies after lies. I messaged John a few final messages and let him know she has told me everything. Everything. And he ignores me for a while before coming back with a message so long I didn't even read it. I say goodbye and tell him to have a nice life. I haven't spoken to him since, and she hasn't either. She has moved house as he began stalking her, sending her letters begging for forgiveness and apologizing profusely.